Odd your worship, I was fighting for equal opportunity for everyone. That's what I see at the core. What's beautiful about Brampton is that I see this beautiful mosaic of cultures and faiths working together, succeeding together, it's the big tent approach to politics. But here today we're here to speak about how democracy has prevailed in the city of Brampton.
And then if we look at, let me just,
Sorry, Antonella?
Sorry, can I just follow up? Yep. Okay, so in order to run for mayor, you have to raise money. The wheels are in motion now. And you can definitively say whether you're running for mayor or not. Next, let's not put clouds over that either. So are you gonna run for mayor?
So I know we've already been asked that question. I'm gonna take some time to decide. Listen, I've been through a lot the last week. You asked the same question. Unfortunately, you have the same answer that it's a little bit premature. Antonella.
What is the next step to Brampton Council? How do you move forward from this situation?
So now that the court has ruled this effort as illegal by the councillors that were involved in these shenanigans, we're now in a position that we can have council meetings again, that we don't need to worry about any bylaw or law that was passed being challenged. One of the real concerns before of the city solicitor is, say we passed a new subdivision agreement and one person wanted to challenge it, they would be successful. According to the city solicitor, any bylaw passed with an incorrect, illegal composition of council could face a high probability of success if challenged. And that's why the city solicitor wanted to protect the taxpayers from, the Brampton taxpayers from exposure of putting the city in an untenable position where they would likely lose any challenge to a bylaw. I would say where we go from here, I'm going to ask Councillor Palleschi and Santos to speak to that because they have some advice on a motion they're going to be putting forward that can help rectify this from happening again in the future.
And thank you, Mayor Brown. And so Councillor Palleschi and I do intend to be bringing forward a motion based on this unprecedented experience. We have some members of council who now have their second term. This is their second term, possibly going into their third term. And we think that based on this, municipal training or training of all councillors who are elected today and in the future require training regarding the Municipal Act and their fiduciary duties in serving council.
And I think it's important to note that when elected, we all swore an oath to uphold the Municipal Act. And I think that this motion that Councillor Santos and myself will be putting forward is just further legislating the importance of how councillors should be held to the Municipal Act and the law essentially that says what we need to do and what we...
You were implying, sir, this is very intentional, almost a coup d'etat in Brampton, but then this correction bill is just training you on what the rules are. Aren't you saying that these 6 councillors intentionally disregarded all the rules and all the advice that they already knew about?
Well, they should have known about it, and I would, I believe that it was very intentional. We had one councillor at a meeting say, council is supreme, we can do anything we want. The city solicitor, the city clerk explained that's not the case. Council does have to follow laws, you can't pass any motion. And so whether it was based on incompetence or whether it was deliberate, either way, it's a very disappointing situation. In case it's because of incompetence, not knowing the basic obligations of a city councillor, then we at least have an opportunity for them to learn about the oath they signed. Maybe they weren't paying attention 4 years ago. If it was deliberate, that's obviously much worse because no one should deliberately break the law anywhere.
Why do you think they would do it?
I think this was a brazen attempt to take power. Obviously, there was an agenda firing the city solicitor, firing the integrity commissioner, and that was wrong.
Sir, before you were elected, there was accusations of dysfunction here at City Hall. Here we are at the end of your first term. There's dysfunction. It's a 5-5 stalemate. As head of council, what are you going to do to break the stalemate? And for the residents of Brampton who are watching, what's your message to them now that they see a council that can't work together?
So I would say for much of the last 4 years, we've been able to drive consensus, whether it was the property tax freezes, whether it was the push for the new hospital, whether it was the fact we got our transit plan unanimously adopted. But obviously, something happened in the last 6 months, and we've seen political agendas afoot. It's disappointing because I really believe it should be about Team Brampton. It should be about bringing everyone together. I have bent I've bent over backwards trying to make sure that we could work with everyone, but clearly that attempt in the recent months was unsuccessful, and ultimately it's the city that's in charge. It's the residents that are in charge, and they'll get to render judgment on the behavior of these councillors in the fall. And I trust the wisdom of residents and the people of Brampton that they'll make the right decision in terms of who they want to send back to City Hall.
And for the past several months, obviously, you've been campaigning for your leadership. For the balance of this term, are we going to see you in City Hall in Brampton trying to work to speak to those points you just did?
Yes, I'll be here in Brampton, focused on making sure that the city of Brampton is in the strongest possible position. I think we've had a lot of success actually during this term in council, landing a new hospital, landing a med school, trying to make Brampton more tax competitive. You know, we're going to be the first big city in the country to have fully electrified transit. And so, you know, I am proud of the success, but obviously with what was attempted recently, I'm going to be paying a very close eye to everything that happens at City Hall. I have to say, I never thought that, you know, while I was sharing a vision for the country, that something like this would be attempted. It's obviously shocking.
Is there cause for police investigation here?
So I would say it's premature to call for investigations of that sort, but I do want to know what was behind this. Certainly, the manner in which the Integrity Commissioner and the City Solicitor were fired, that needs to be investigated. The Integrity Commissioner being fired was egregious, and now there's a potential lawsuit against the city from the Integrity Commissioner based on the fact that she was fired very much on the basis of one of the decisions that she rendered for misconduct against a member of council.
Normally,
You're
the
90
provincial government would step in if municipality was deemed to be having great difficulties. In this case, that's unlikely, I take it, because one member of the government was involved in this?
So I would say that I spoke to Steve Clark about the situation. He's the Minister of Municipal Affairs. I've got a high regard for Steve Clark. I think he is one of the best municipal affairs ministers that the province has had. And when I spoke to him about it, he gave us a contact at the ministry to help us through this process. And the contact very clearly stated this has never happened before. There's never been an attempt to go outside of the Municipal Act, and that likely the courts would clarify. If the courts didn't clarify, then it would go back to the ministry. But fortunately, the courts clarified this and said it was illegal.
According
Mayor Brown,
to the municipal
one of
act.
the people involved with this, you can go next,
Go.
is now a member of the government. She's an MPP, a member of cabinet. What could this mean for Charlene Williams there?
I think that question has to be referred to Charlene Williams. I'm told directly from the Premier's office she was asked not to participate in this, but made her own decisions.
You're 90 days out from the municipal act that says you don't have to replace any person in that seat for wards 7 and 8, because that's something that's coming up in 2 weeks. 90 days is going to be up before the election. Are you going to fill that seat, or just is that something that you're looking at?
I'd like to see it filled. I'd like to see council immediately back to work. You know, this was a disruption for the last month. We've got a lot of work right here at City Table that's at City Council that's piled up, and so certainly the sooner we can fill that vacancy, the better.
So I'm getting lost in the names here, but the person who was appointed to 7-8 is already out or still holding that seat?
No, it's the court quashed the legal appointments. That person is not a councillor.
Sir, as head of council, are you going to be calling a council meeting and trying to get back to business as you just suggested?
Absolutely, I want to get all the work that was held up because of this illegal effort. I want to get all the pending items dealt with as quickly as possible.
When are you looking to do that?
So I'm going to consult with all members of council to see their availability. And yes, I'm going to reach out to all members of council to see if we can find a time that works for everyone. I know there may be some members of council who are not in the city right now, but I'm going to attempt to accommodate them. Okay. Does it look like like any other questions, thank you for coming. Apologies for the warm weather in the mayor's office today, and we'll keep everyone up to date if there's any additional information. Thank you.